Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRI. AFRI is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. It's a big pleasure to welcome you back, Elena Sjödin, the founder and CEO of Robotminds. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mustafa, and I'm glad that we're doing it the second time and in connection with a huge project, which we're going to run during the summer. So I'm really looking forward to your questions, and hopefully I can answer all of them.
Let's see, hopefully, because our first episode was 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah, right? I think it was more or less 2 years ago.
It was the beginning of COVID.
Yes, exactly. Challenging times, but we survived.
Yes. So how are you doing?
I would say that I'm doing quite good, personally and professionally. I'm happy that, I'm happy that actually, even though that the COVID been challenging, but it's also, I think, gave a lot of different perspectives, so to say, both for companies and also for people. Kind of, it's pushed everyone to open up their minds and look outside of the box for solutions, how to proceed and survive. So
exactly, I guess it helps your business, or pushed it a bit.
Yeah, I have to admit that it's that it helped our business.
Great, and we will hear more, or you will tell us more about this. And as you know, you are a storyteller for this episode. Please introduce yourself one more time to the new listeners and tell us about your passion also.
Yeah, well, as you said, that I'm CEO and founder of Robotminds, and we can talk a bit later about the company itself and what we're doing. I would also say that I can call myself visionary change leader, because I think that the technology which we're trying to bring to the market and the perspective which we are showcasing it with, I think it's kind of transformative, and the change also is going to be transformative. So
yeah. So is this your passion?
Yeah, I would say, basically, in general, through my entire career, I was working a lot with innovations. And I think that that's one of my biggest passion. So besides all the emerging cool tech and, so innovations, change management from strategic perspective. So how you kind of drive it from basically helping people to understand the need for change and also drive the process itself.
Yeah. And take us back in time. Tell us about like where you're from, how you grew up, what did you study, and so on. A highlight about you.
Well, originally I'm half Russian, half Ukrainian, and I was living in both places. So I actually came to Denmark to study in 2005, I think. So afterwards, after I finalized my studies,
what did you study?
Well, actually, it was double education. So I was in parallel studying. I got a master's degree in international economy from Russia, and a marketing management degree from Denmark. Nice. And then I was studying. Then I was working. Then I was studying in Sweden for international trade management, and now I'm actually finalizing executive MBA. So it's So I'm flying. Partly to London, partly to Dubai. It will be San Francisco as well at the end of the term. So yeah, it's quite. It's one of the best business schools.
Yeah.
Called HALT. So so I'm quite happy that.
So you will graduate soon as.
Yeah,
well?
I'll graduate. I'll graduate during the summer, and hopefully COVID wouldn't be able to stop us. So
good job.
Thank you.
So but now you're based in which city in Sweden?
Helsingborg.
And there you started Robotminds.
Well, basically we say that we have our headquarters, so to say, in Landskrona, but we also we have project managers who sits in Helsingborg, and we also have office here in Stockholm at Epicenter. So
nice. So tell us about the background of Robotminds. How, like, why you started it, and like the beginning.
Well, I have to say that I always had a passion for various types of technologies, and when you travel a lot, you see that basically the robots been quite actively used and applied in US and in Asia. You haven't seen much things happen in that direction in Europe. So as I said, like when you work in other organizations, so you see that you see the huge benefits of using robot in production facilities, for example, in warehouses and so on. And it was obvious that social and service robots is kind of like a next step of evolution of robotics. So I was just thinking that maybe I should combine all the background which I had and experience which I had from like strategic positions and innovation and kind of driving the change and bring the technology to Scandinavia. However, I also have to say that while in the beginning, so I had kind of like one idea where it was focusing, basically the focus should be on the technology itself, like on the software and so on. But later I also understood that actually companies, organizations, municipalities, they need a lot of help in understanding technology and also understanding which benefits it can bring and how actually technology can be a part of some certain IT infrastructure or the operational processes and so on. So we actually started to work a lot on consultancy side and kind of opening up the minds of people.
But tell me, like, because you're not a programmer or not working with robots, so like you now you're in the field of tech field, right? Can we say that or no?
Yeah, but I actually think that I think that here it's important to think also from the business side of it, because it's one thing to kind of look at technology from experimental perspective and like from the software capabilities, but then it's another side to think, okay, what valuable business case scenarios we can create, how can we scale it, how can we implement it on a larger scale, and how we can reach return on investment or help organizations to improve their processes. So I think that it's quite important aspect when it comes to implementation of technology, and that I would say that something which makes Robotminds standing out of a lot of similar companies. So we kind of come in with quite strong business side to the project.
So you had the idea, and how then you implement or you kicked it off, the Robotminds? Like did you start to work? What kind of team you gathered?
Yeah, well, of course, I'm not a software expert myself, so I need to have a team who actually can work with the software and implement. And usually we source hardware from like I would say best companies in the world. And then we kind of like put our top layers on it. So we continue to develop, if you can say, developing different applications, integrations, and so on. So we have a team at this point. We have a team of freelancers, but from March we'll have our own software developers as well. And the reason why we're using a team of freelancers because it helps us to be agile. We work with different robots, all of them programmed on different languages, and you have to have some different skills and so on. So it helps us as a startup to kind of deliver good services and right solutions to our clients.
So what do you mean by hardware?
Well, basically, we have different type of robots. Like now we're going to launch one cool robot. It's been running on the streets of Stockholm today.
Really?
Yes, it's a robot dog. So that's one of the example of hardware. And then we have also quite famous robot. We call him Mr. Q. It's a social robot, humanoid one. And then we have a number of like telepresence robots and so on. So the hardware, it's like robots itself.
Yeah.
That's what we source from companies, producing companies. But then, of course, you have to develop it further.
Yeah, to raise up the robot and put the software.
Exactly.
So tell us, like, if you summarize what Robotminds do, what will you say?
Yeah, I would actually say that we have a few services which we offer. One of the interesting service, I could say, or like direction which we have in, it's education. Something which we started, I would say, like year and a half ago during the COVID times, and we actually got requests from a number of business schools and universities. They wanted to learn they want to learn about robotics, but not so much from the technical aspects. They were interested more in how you actually have to think about it as a future leader. How you have to incorporate robotics in your future strategies, how you have to evaluate technology and
more the mindset of
exactly. So we running those courses not only in Sweden, also doing it in Russia and India. And then another service which we're offering is actually consultancy and kind of education workshops for companies and organizations. And there we actually explaining on like a higher level what actually service and social robots means, and what is the future with that technology, and how they'll be a vital part of future smart cities or various processes and so on. So we are showing them how you can build future scenarios and see where your organization have to how your
to have a robot
have to develop. Robots of course main focus, but we also talk a little bit about other technologies around it. And then also a service which we found that companies are quite interested. It's actually piloting different robots or different solutions, because you cannot kind of straight away decide like that type of robots you would like to use in your organization, buy a lot and implement them. So you have to run a few pilots and
see which one is.
And also how you have to set up the process, because we also see that a lot of organizations making mistake where they're looking at the processes they have today, and then they're saying, okay, that part of the process they'll replace with robotics. But it's actually not correct, because you have to relook into the process and see how you can optimize and how you can make it more effective with the consideration of the technology which you have today, but also upcoming technology, because sometimes it takes a couple of years to kind of implement something or change the processes. So we kind of helping companies to restructure the process, and also testing technology from different angles, so to say. So with us, they have a possibility to run those tests and run those pilots with a fraction of a cost. As they would do it with, and we also come with the knowledge, of course.
But is like there is a big market for this?
We see that it's increasing demand, because more and more companies starting to understand that they maybe it seems too futuristic, but it's actually not.
It's now happening.
It's now happening, and basically there is no time to wait. So they have to start acting now, and a lot of companies also being conservative, and they cannot make bigger steps. So that's why also pilot projects can be an interesting step for them.
Yeah, but when you say a robot or robotics, are they the same thing? Because when you say robot, I see like a robot.
Yeah.
Is it true? Like, or no?
Yeah, but you can also look at it that, you can look at it from the perspective of robot like itself, but then you can also look at a robotic application where you actually have maybe a combination of various robots. So that's,
So like a robot it doesn't need necessarily to be like a robot as how we know, like a machine looks like a human, Or
Yeah, well, of course, there are also like software types of robots, but we actually focusing on social and service robots. And maybe it's also important to frame a little bit what we mean by social.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I wanted
robots.
to ask you, what does it mean?
Yeah, so we all familiar with industrial type of robots, those huge machines standing on the factories and so on. And then we also heard about warehouse robots or cobots. They're basically the ones which can move from point A to point B, and they also have sensors and kind of smart, but at the same time they operate in an environment where people know that there are robots and they know how to act. And then there is a new type of robots. It's basically actually Accenture made a quite cool name for them, robots in the wild. And I think that it's a cool concept because basically those type of robots they're actually like running and performing in open environments, and not always people are ready for them. So when you developing those type of robots applications with them, you have to think about the behavior of the robot and how it should react on some certain things, how it should avoid obstacles, for example, or how it should react if it meets a child or child want to come and talk. It's a lot of aspects involved there. So we are focusing on robots in the wild.
So robot in the city, but you say social. What did you say?
Yeah, social. Well, yeah. So service. There are service and social robots, and a good example of social robots. For example, we have a really great Swedish company for hat robotics. So they're working a lot on speech processes and communication and so on. So they're trying to optimize it.
It's so interesting. You say we need to see how robots behave with kids and so on. Like instead of saying maybe how a human will, or
you actually have to look at it from both aspects,
right?
Yeah, it's and that's also important to think about and remember, both for the companies who is producing robots, developing software, and also for the companies who's actually going to implement it, because we see, like for example, in US, you can find a number of delivery robots, and I really like, for example, KiwiBot, because they have that screen with a facial, kind of a face, so it can give a smile and so on. And they're actually saying that they, at some point, they include the feature that if a robot drives and see child or someone kind of stop them want to talk, then robot pausing for a few seconds.
Okay.
And basically that's a good example of how you actually also help people to kind of maybe not like robots, but at least don't be scared of them or be afraid. So you have to make them more welcoming,
friendly. I think we talked about it. About this in the previous episode with the robots, but I think we will continue this. And I'm interested actually now in the collaboration that Robotminds is doing with H22 EXPO in Helsingborg. So, like, why it's so important for you to do the collaboration?
Well, first of all, I have to say that I think it's obvious actually that robots is going to be quite a vital part of smart cities in the future. And that's something which is important to understand also for city planners and for all the organizations who somehow involved in that process. Because when we think about robots, we kind of think a lot about them as some kind of single units. But when we talk about, like, let's say, logistic or transportation or healthcare services, they're going to be part of all those like infrastructure and processes around it and so on. So and that's why I think that it's important to raise conversations around it, and also important to showcase capabilities of robots and kind of brainstorm a little bit how we can use them in an effective way for the good, and also what we have to think about. So we kind of have control how the things developing and so on. So I would say that that's actually a perfect way for us to showcase on really, really small scale what the cities of the future will be and what we should think about. So during our collaboration or during H22, we're going to deploy a number of robots. So we're going to have our social robot giving information on different languages, helping people to find themselves around and so on. So it's right now the robot can speak English, and we're also going to introduce Swedish and Arabic languages, so you can come and test.
Nice. Then I can talk to a robot in Arabic.
You can even take interview. He's quite smart.
Nice. Really?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, of course. We can arrange it.
Yeah.
He's been on stage so many times. So.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we also are going to deploy, like, for example, telepresence robots in various scenarios. And here we could see that actually could be like a perfect user case scenarios, both for hospitals, elderly care, and also for visitors who cannot be there physically, but they would like to see the exhibition or be part of the conference and so on. So, and then we also plan to have our robot dog guiding and showing directions. Then we also actually going to introduce a really cool concept where we will have 2 robots doing deliveries.
Okay. What kind of delivery? Like food or?
We'll start from the restaurant. Food deliveries, lunch deliveries, and so on. However, we of course that's going to be like a pilot, so on a small scale.
Yeah.
But of course, in the future we'll actually include other services, not only food delivery. What
do you mean by small scale? Like it's a geographical area or?
Well, it's both geographical, but also from I would say tasks which we'll put on a robot.
Yeah.
So, like for example, in the future we'll see that those type of robots will do deliveries not only of like food, but also groceries or some like packages from you order something. So actually the concept there, if you for example order some package from Zalando, and then at the same time you order pizza, and then maybe you need to get some milk packages. You wouldn't want to have 3 robots in the future coming to you and maybe drone flying with some pills for headache. So we kind of looking at the concepts how we can optimize deliveries and orchestrate it, both deliveries itself, but also units like delivery robots or drones in the future. So it's kind of like futuristic concept or concept which we'll start deploying soon, but with futuristic touch, with the thought of the future. And that's what I also think is important to think, by the way, when we're talking about both city planning and in general.
I will come to this point. So this is what you're gonna introduce during the H22 EXPO.
Yes.
And how was the response from like H22 when you talk to them and say, hey, I have robots, I want to put them in the city?
Well, I think it was more like you're planning to have that innovative event where you'll talk about the city of the future, and I think that you cannot simply do it without having robots.
You think so?
I think so, yeah. I think that, if you look at other countries, for example, Japan, already in 2015, they created a council for robot revolution concepts.
Wow.
And they actually wanted, I don't remember whether it was by 2030, they wanted to optimize up to 80% of the services.
Wow.
So they kind of wanted to push quite a lot of robots in the streets.
So how was the response from H22?
It was quite positive. I think that they got really happy, especially when we showcase some of the robots and introduce them to some ideas. They actually now they actually have one. I would say that it's a first city which employed non-human worker.
Wow.
So we have our social humanoid robot employed by H22.
So nice.
Yes, it's quite cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
It's I also think from the mind shifting perspective, it's a big step.
Yeah. So you're happy.
Yeah, definitely.
So when we will visit the expo during the summer, will we see the robots located in one place, or they will move around? What will we see?
Yeah, they're going to be in a part of in few locations. So we're going to have robot at the pavilion. Then we're also going to have at some of the conference places.
Yeah.
So to say, some of them going to move a bit around.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to have delivery robots, hopefully driving around Knutpunkten, Helsingborg.
Yeah, the central station area.
Exactly. So and then we might also bring a bit more robotic solutions, but
put more robot dogs. What do you call them? Dogs.
Dog robots. No, but
they will be like guiding people, right, or showing the way.
We actually testing now,
okay.
So we're going to see how it's going to work. Basically how people react to that, and also from the technological perspective, how good the connectivity we can achieve in the area and so on. So
this will be during the summer and during the expo, and a lot of fun. I'm wondering, like, in what is in it for the citizens?
I think that first of all, hopefully they provide a lot of kind of services which, like for example, giving information. Right now it's not that easy to find people who will kind of constantly give you information, especially considering different languages and so on. So then they also get understanding of how robots can be deployed in the future. Like for example, we have social robots deployed in various parts of the world, helping in healthcare, like checking in people and doing some simple tests and so on. And then also in number of public services, I would say it's quite important to remember that sometimes we have to leverage on the technology to be able to provide good service for citizens. Also, when we're talking, for example, about delivery, here we are looking to sustainability aspects. And also we can think about elderly care. So hopefully in the future we would be able to help out to provide a better support and a better care for elderlies, both with deliveries of various medications and things which they need, but also with some of the social robots which we actually also testing with Helsingborg Innovative Department.
Cool. It's going to be so interesting to visit the expo and to see the robots. So you mentioned how many kinds of different robots we going to have, or we going to see?
Well, five.
Five different,
five
okay.
different kind of robots.
Cool.
Well, maybe there will be
more,
but we'll see.
Depends on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can just mention them, like the 5 robots.
Yeah. So basically, our Mr. Q social robot going to be at the pavilion, giving information and guiding people and helping to answer questions. Then we'll have robot dog, which plan to kind of guide people, not only give directions but physically guide around.
Follow with,
follow with and so on. Then we'll have delivery robots.
Yeah.
Then we'll have another type of information / telepresence robot. Both giving information, but also you'll be able to connect with someone if you, for example, want to have a special support and so on. And then we'll have a telepresence robot for people who would like to attend the event, for example, via online, but still be there. And besides that, we're also going to have conferences and workshops.
Yeah. Wow, super cool. Will we see you there during the expo?
Yeah, definitely. So both me and members of our team going to be there.
Awesome. Looking forward to see you there. So, but Elena, do you think having robots? Is it something in the city? Is it something luxury or is it something necessary?
I actually think that it's necessary, and it's going to be more necessary in the future, because if you'll think about like 10, 15 years time, where, for example, in Europe, we have a population which is aging, and we need to have more support, and we do not actually have enough people to take care of all the older people which we'll have. So it's definitely going to be increasing problem. And I would say that robots is going to be quite useful in a lot of scenarios there. And also, if we look at other side of the world, they're also, like, for example, we could say example with China or India, where they're testing now drones and drone deliveries. There are a lot of remote areas where it's difficult to deliver even medications because of the issues with transportation and road and so on. There drones, which is also kind of robots. There is a huge help for both from governmental aspects, but also from the citizens and so on. So I would say that it's not like a luxury. It's definitely going to be a necessity.
Mm-hmm. So, but for you, like in Robotminds, focusing more on robots on the ground, right? Not the flying one.
No, not
yet.
The flying, not yet. Robots in the wild.
Maybe it's coming now.
Well,
who knows?
I will. Yeah.
Let's see in the next episode when we when we talk. So now I'm, as an urban planner, interested in the infrastructure. So in the city, we already have so many different, let's say, objects and infrastructure. For instance, recently we have the what do you call it, electrical scooter, which made like a big panic for urban planners. Or where should we plan the parking? What should we do now? Charging stations and so on. So every time there is something introduced to us, and we are kind of in a panic. What can we do, and so on? And what we plan. Now, you, Elena, with the Robotminds, introducing teams of robots moving in the city. So what is the infrastructure that robots need?
And it's actually a really good question, because not that many people, including not that many planners, who are thinking about it, because it's really important to think about infrastructure of the future cities. And also, when you think about technology itself, like robots, of course, there are a lot of things which comes from capabilities of robots, but you also have to think how you kind of welcome the technology so they can reach their full capability. And therefore, it's really important to look at those infrastructural aspects. And I would say that infrastructure, both from physical type of infrastructure, like how we have to plan our buildings, like can we make sure that robot can come in and kind of get out? How should we handle stairs, for example, or how should we think about smart locks? Maybe if we want in the future that robot will deliver some certain things straight out to our doorstep. And then also think not only from the perspective of where technology today, but also what's going to happen in 5-year time or in 10-year time, because when we build in areas, they're supposed to last for a long time.
Of course.
So I would say that future thinking aspect is really important to take into consideration. So when it comes, for example, to robots, we already see that in Canada they're raising the questions. Okay, we'll have quite a few companies even so having service with delivery robots. But what is going to happen with our bicycle roads where those delivery robots should drive? And that's one of the questions which we're actually also going to raise during H22, one of the panel debates which we're planning to have, and also something which we're going to include in our project, that it's important to think both of how can we optimize the service, but how all the companies, like for example companies, real estate companies, have to think from their perspective about infrastructure, and how city planners have to think about that future infrastructure. And not only think also from the perspective of robots, but if you think about autonomous driving, how those two technologies can complement each other. Here it's again when we're talking about processes, right? So
well, when you talk now, I see like a huge problem, and I shouldn't ask you this question.
Yeah. I have to say that.
Okay, let's address this before you kick off your panel discussion, because I think the panel will be on fire. So if we talk buildings, so we're talking about accessibility, right?
Yes, exactly.
So how the robot will go up to my apartment or where?
Yeah, you have to think both accessibility from the way of how robot can move around, but also infrastructure like
the city-wise we will talk soon. But I'm in buildings now. You mentioned like the door.
Yeah. Like because for example, you can think like, okay, robot can take a stairs or robot can take an elevator.
Exactly.
What you should think? You should think about having a smart elevator so you can connect them to robots via API.
Yeah. What is API? Welcome to our world.
Well, yeah, basically.
Well, Elena, so you need.
Well, let's say it like that. Sorry, use it. I just previously I had a meeting with our software guys, so
yeah.
I'll kind of turn it down
to
the user experience. So basically, you have to make sure that you basically have elevators which has connectivity, which will allow you to connect to the robot itself. So robots and elevators can communicate with each other via signals.
Yeah.
And that also like if you think about doors or various sensors which you would like to have, that's important to think. Plus also from the aspect now, if you look at some old buildings, and we already now have a problem with quite a few of our robots that we cannot use them. We cannot kind of open their full potential because they cannot move, for example,
the physical barriers.
Yeah, they have some physical barriers like thresholds too high or things like this. And of course, you can think, okay, can you adapt the robot?
Yeah.
Or maybe you should think about making a smarter infrastructure, because adapting the robot is always can come with a higher cost.
Exactly.
But how can you kind of how can you communicate, put two parties to communicate with each other to make sure that you find the best case scenario here. Yeah. And that is actually also what we see in the future, that you have to kind of companies have to stop working in silos. They have to talk with other companies, and you have to basically create those ecosystems where you will address problems and issues
and find solution. That's why I'm so thankful that you're here and inspiring us. So like if we stay within the building, so the entrance, the elevator or staircase, like as architects, should we think that robots are human, like the space, or how should we think? Some advice, like
well, I actually have to think that it's important to think that at the present moment the best way of to use robots where they can basically roll on a kind of flat surfaces. So we have to think that the surfaces have to be as flat as possible, and then there is always different technology, but it's kind of finding the optimal level and so on. So then you also have to, there are a lot of research going on. For example, if you want to have drone deliveries in the future, how should you handle that?
Yeah.
Or if you want, like if you think about in 10 years time, where you'll have basically smart devices and your fridge can send a signal somewhere that you're out of milk. So then let's say the robot will bring it from the shop to you. Yeah. So should be able to go straight to your home, or should you have some kind of system in your door that robot would be able to kind of drop it there? And all those things you have to think about. But I think that it's not something which you and me can answer. I think that it requires actually to have discussions on a high level involving different players, because you have to think from technological side, you have to think from like financial side of it, and like from the trend side and so on.
So because it's so funny now, or funny, and maybe it's not so that's funny, but when we design a building, we say this should last for 100 years. And what I see, like it's of course not when we talk about robots and the future. It's okay, it's made for a human, but not really integrated with the robots. So yeah, it's interesting that you're raising up this.
Yeah, definitely really important, and that's what I'm saying. That I see we talk a lot with people who's been a part of designing like future cities, areas, or buildings, and a lot of times they're thinking from as of today's scenario and maybe a couple of years ahead. But it's actually really important to think about the future.
Yeah.
And as I was mentioning earlier, not look only at the robots, but technology, which other technology, which is
exactly,
which is actually going to come. So,
but now, Elena, when you design the hardware, do you follow the architecture, or no? You say, okay, I don't care, I will do my robots, and architects should adjust to my robots.
Well, I can just give you, because we're not designing hardware ourselves, what I can give you examples from some companies which we're working with. So there are some companies which are trying to find ways how their robot can actually overcome the threshold. So how it can drive on some carpets or on an uphill and so on. And this technology making it's cool. I mean, it's good, but that's something which making robot more expensive. And when we're talking about innovative technology, we actually saying that it's kind of like have to be optimal, that people will be willing to try it. So maybe in the future we'll see that technology also getting cheaper. So maybe there will be some solutions which we can deploy, of course, in all the buildings without any issues. But from my experience, every time when you add in some kind of cool features, then it's getting more expensive. And we have a dog which perfectly climbs the stairs.
Yeah.
But you cannot use him for everything. And you cannot, for example, if you're thinking about humanoid robots and big robots, it's important that they have stability. So here's the question, whether you really have to address it from technological aspect, or whether you really have to make sure that infrastructure is ready. And
interesting.
About infrastructure, we can talk for hours.
Yeah, so like okay, let's give us a highlight. If we go out of the buildings, like what kind of infrastructure, physical, are we talking? Do the robot need now, like a bike need a bike lane, let's say, to so people can bike safely and so on? Robots.
Yeah. Well, I would actually say that, for example, if you take Scandinavia as an example, there you can already start deploying, for example, delivery robots, because we have bike lanes, handicap passes, and we have kind of a straight roads. But if we look at other places, that becomes difficult. So, like I would say that in Scandinavia, we're kind of well positioned, because we can use already existing infrastructure. But in the future, we have to think about how we can make it easy, and where are we going to place the robots. We're saying that we have too much congestions on the streets due to too many cars and so on. So we have to make sure that it wouldn't switch from cars to robots or to other technology which are going to come. And I think that if you're looking at it again from like a bigger picture vision, then a lot of problems is also going to be solved when technology will be rolling out, like more autonomous driving, where you'll start sharing cars maybe, and things like this. And
so there will be more space for something else than only cars, maybe.
I think,
or smarter way of taking place.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, that it's when we're talking about infrastructure, and actually in general about smart cities, it's not like place for which you packed with a lot of cool technology. It's more a place, in my eyes, where you use all the technology in a smart way of doing things. And then when we talk about robots, you also can think that perhaps some services you can do during nighttime. Some services you can do, like no one would perhaps order pizza to at night, or there wouldn't be that many people. So what robots can do during those hours, how they can help the city, and so on. So
because like the non-smart city, when we see the use of space and like like parking space, a lot of cars standing there not moving, so it's a kind of non-smart.
Yeah, exactly.
But if the cars, let's say, smart, they will maybe be in the running or somehow. So we have more space in the city to do something else.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you tell me like a kind of list of what is the needed infrastructure, parking, charging stations, robot lines.
Well, definitely thinking about charging stations, but also connectivity is important.
What is connectivity?
Well, basically like LTE or 5G network, which is well functioning. Good coverage of it and so on. So that's really important, because here we have to think how, if we're talking about deployment outside of the buildings. Then definitely, as you mentioned, how we're going to charge the robots. Whether they're going to, I think that for quite a few years now, they'll still be able to use normal roads, bicycle roads, and so on. So I'm not sure whether we have to think at that point about creating some special robot lanes. However, is the question how much we're going to use various type of transportations in the future. So
because what I'm thinking about now, we don't have a space in the city.
Exactly.
That's why, for instance, like we have so big problems with the electrical bikes. It's not because because there's no space. We didn't plan for this. That's why we see them as a problem now.
Yeah. And I actually say that to be able to kind of find answers on those questions, it's one of the things which we have to start doing as soon as possible is creating sandbox environments. So creating areas in the city where we can test all the technologies and see what is the optimal way of using it, what we should think about, and so on. So because when you apply technology in a smaller scale or in a closed environments, you do not see all the problems which may arise. So that's something which city planners definitely need to think, but also from municipalities.
So I have a question for you, because like you mentioned in Robotminds, you do like the educational part, but you do this for business and cities, more like business strategies. I'm wondering, like now, because we have a lack of this when it comes to architecture and urban planning, do you think you can adjust the course or like something like this?
Well, I actually think that one of the things which really helps people to think about in that direction, or like at least start thinking, where you actually, one of the workshops we are making, it's about like building a picture of the future based on what is now and what trends we foresee and implications of those trends. That I think is like really an interesting first step to kind of reach that wow moment and understand that something have to be done. And then actually definitely doing the courses and even we involved with a number of companies in bigger panels where we actually addressing all those questions. But also from an educational aspect, of course, it's something which we also trying to make everyone understand. So
do you see that like cities here or in general cities are really smart when it comes to robots? Okay, let me reframe it. Do you see our cities as a robot friendly city?
That's a good question. I would say, for example, I see Scandinavian cities more robot-friendly cities than, for example, Dubai. Even though that they're investing a lot in different technologies, and even Dubai police said that by 2030, I think that they want to they want to deploy robots for quite a few services to support to support the police and also kind of do work from a different side. But when we are talking, like, for example, about like deliveries with the robots and so on, so I think that they'll have to work much more on the infrastructure than we have to do it here.
What do you think is the key to make a successful city for robots or friendly? Like something very, very important. Is it like the space or?
No, I would say IT infrastructure.
Okay.
It's important that that we kind of reach the level where, talking simply, where robots can enter spaces, where they can connect to other devices, communicate with other devices, where we have good network and things like this. But of course, it's also really, really important to think about like roads and
but like now when you say good networks, but then we need to introduce like a network of good internet, no? Or upgrade the existing one maybe.
Well, there are actually quite a few solutions, and we ourselves looking and kind of doing some projects. Not sure that I can talk much about it, so maybe
next episode.
Next episode. But I think that it's something which we actually going to experiment on next couple of months. Because that is important aspect both for the ones who is working with the robots and also from the network side and so on. So
it needs a lot of teamwork from different sectors.
Definitely, and that's what we also saying, that we cannot like look, for example, if we're talking again about like delivery robots, right? It's not only between retail and robotic companies. Like it's also a lot about logistics, but also about real estate sector and about city planning. And about network. So
I see.
You see quite a lot of players already have been involved.
Wow, interesting. And I think it's very, very interesting to address the questions but also like start to make actions. I'm talking about like architects, urban planners. Like, okay, we say we design cities for futures, but at the same time we don't really put a space. Or at least like our charging stations or something like this.
Not addressing basically the problems which can come in the future, and they'll become a problem.
Of course, of course.
And I think that the reason why why it's happening like that, it's because for a lot of people, that technology it's still futuristic technology. I mean, even though that everyone knows that in 10 years' time we should have more or less fully autonomous cars. But who really kind of not like believe, but like really addressing it?
Yeah, like it's okay. We watch it in the TV or in internet, but we say not in my backyard.
Exactly.
Okay, keep it there in let's say San Francisco or somewhere else, Tokyo.
Exactly. And the thing is that we cannot change things overnight.
No.
So we have to start preparing for them already now.
True.
So also like, what are we going to, now we do not have space in the cities, but in a few years time, we're going to have a lot of free spaces because people might not own the cars.
Yeah, in case we change,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's so many questions which we somehow put in.
Yeah, we just push and then to the next generation and say good luck to you.
No, I'm afraid it will be too late. I think in 5, we really do not have time. We have to start acting now and address all of this and change our environment and infrastructure. And
but let me now flip the coin and be a bit evil. So we talk like from a city planning. We don't have space and we already have so many in the infrastructure, and now you come and introduce one more object like robots. At the same time, we see like people losing their jobs. You know where I'm taking this, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to say like, do you think that you're causing the problem instead of maybe or solving it? Like robots will take some jobs, then maybe we have some employees. At the same time, you're introducing a new I will not say a new challenge to our cities. So you know all this, like
of course.
I guess you hear it a lot. So I would love to hear from you now. Like how do you answer these kind of questions?
Yeah, I actually think that talking about robots taking away jobs, it's really a wrong perception because that's something which we used to think, and to be honest, it feels a little bit like. Well, I wouldn't make any bad examples nowadays, but someone heard somewhere and so on. Yeah. Actually, it's proven fact, and there are numerous of reports that yes, robots and technology going to take a lot of jobs. But I think I was reading latest, it was sometime end of last year, World Economic Forum. I think about the numbers. Yeah, they estimated that all this new technology by 2030 will take 85 million jobs. But it's going to create 97.
Okay.
So, and I think that I actually think that it's important to remember that things are changing, things are always developing, and it's always been like that. I do not think that, like, if you're looking back in the history, we could say right now, or when we got cars, so many people lost job. Because no one been riding horses any longer. So
no, but like what I'm thinking now. Let's see how you answer this. Like you're having your what's the name of the robot that's going to stand and act as an information point during the expo?
Mr. Q.
Mr. Q.
Yes.
Is it the one who got like a contract with the?
Yeah.
So like imagine instead of this, we are having a person with a full-time job doing the. What do you think?
Oh, do you know? I think that I actually think that we already now experiencing a huge shortage, a labor shortage in a lot of
sectors.
In a lot of sectors, and even I'll take it even further.
Yeah.
I'll have to tell you that we even been doing projects when we're looking how robots can support teachers at school. So you can say, wow, what is going to happen with all the teachers?
Leave them alone.
Yeah, but do you know that we're going to have a huge shortage of teachers in the future? And we do not know today how we're going to solve that problem. We also know that already now they have a huge load of work, and everyone complaining about stressful situation due to large amounts of work and so on. So I would say that we actually have to look at these aspects, how we have to understand that there are going to be some shift in the jobs. All the work which you can automate slowly is going to disappear, and it's always been like that, and it's going to continue to be like that, and we cannot stop the progress, and it wouldn't be smart to stop the progress. But what we have to think, we have to realize that change is going to happen. The change is actually happening, because of you, no? Yeah, maybe, but we might be a big part of it, and I'm actually happy that we're a big part of it, because I see how many benefits we as human beings can see with robots. Like for example, now during Corona times, how many old people got infected by the virus because we had like a constant contact with them. Let's say that we could eliminate that contact by like even if they say laying in the elderly houses, that the food will be delivered to them not by person but by some robot. Maybe it sounds cruel, but at least they will have higher chances of not getting the virus. Plus also, like, no one could visit them. Or doctors sometimes was like even infecting people because they needed to come and check on them, or nurses and so on. Let's say that we'll use telepresence robot there, and you as a family member could visit your like grandmother, and you will really have a feeling of interacting with the person. Or doctor can visit patients and so on. So and also in the future we see a lot of cases like our partners, they made a really cool, successful case where they're using robots for people who is having Alzheimer. They're helping them to remember to take water, to take medication, play games, communicate. There are so many positive aspects around usage of robots. But as with any technology, there are always positive and negative things, and we actually have to address both of them. We have to make sure that we guide it to the positive way. And I actually think that when we're talking about companies, I think that it's also a responsibility of all the leaders to understand that change is going to touch them, and basically, robots going to change all the industries on the planet. And it's not only robots, all the other technology we can name. So how it's going to affect their industry and what they have to do to help their vulnerable employees to get adjusted and adapted to the new environment. So if you say that maybe there wouldn't be in the future that many career guys, but then what those people can do, and maybe they can help on the backside, because we'll need to have so many people, like even testing robots. And I think that it's much cooler to test robots inside than run around in the rain.
So you believe that you're not introducing a problem to the cities?
I think that we're actually introducing a solution, but it's important to make sure that you're introducing it in the right way. And that we're implementing and integrating it in the right way, so it wouldn't create a problem.
Do you feel tired of people telling you robots will take our job and robots are not good?
No, I think that it's just a funny thing. And I like, I like actually to listen to that, and I like to have open conversations and give examples, and also sometimes, we see that sometimes people like, oh, this is a robot, and kind of getting afraid of it or getting shocked and so on. But we actually experimenting once in a while and bringing them to crowded places and just making people to understand that it's not futuristic, and the technology already here,
reality.
And that is like I want people to stop thinking that it's something dangerous, that it's something bad. I want them to see more positive aspects of robots, and that's always interesting to.
Maybe you should
to stand on the side and see. How.
If you remember our conversation from the last episode. I told you that in the movies we see robots killing people and so on. Like the kind of robots we see in the movies on our TV, is it also reality, like how they move, what functions they do, service? Or no, it's like it's movies.
I mean, it depends which movies we're talking about. But I have to say that there are so many really smart, advanced robots right now.
Like like us humans. Are they?
Yeah, well, there are
not like us, but if you understand.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of companies who is making super advanced robots which actually look like humans and can mimic and so on. However, there are a lot of marketing around it. Like for example, if you think about Sophia robot, they just, like, for example, a couple of months ago they made this. Kind of, I would say, more marketing campaign where Sophia robot together with some artists made the art, and they put NFTs, But I mean, cognitive behavior in robots, it's kind of far away from us right now. So we have to understand that a lot of things are still being programmed. Quite a lot of things which we see in movies still futuristic. It might be that some certain things will come sooner to us, some certain things later. But I also think that it's important to kind of also address the safety things and regulations, and how we're going to regulate all those aspects. It's the same as with AI. How far it's go? How are we going to regulate it on national level, and then like some countries decide one rule on some rules, and other countries decide on other rules, or should we regulate it on international level? But there are some moves happening right now, but I think that that it should be much more things done in that direction as well.
Do you face a lot of problems here in Sweden when it comes to regulations? What are the challenges?
I would say that from another, we'll face a lot of problems from other side. Actually, I would say that we have a lot of regulations in Sweden specifically, which stopping us from testing different solutions and trying to solve problems. Like even in the case with we had so many issues with the test when we done test at school. We basically had to turn off half of the functionalities just because.
Why?
But because you have to make sure that the robot doesn't see anyone, and you cannot use. No, we haven't even been using face recognition.
You're not there.
We even needed to turn off the cameras. We even needed to think whether we need to code the voice to make sure that it's somehow. But it's basically the same as using the phone.
True.
It's even more dangerous when you use the phone. And that's also an important thing to think about. Are we going to kind of totally lock our our regulators have to give possibility to be let's say like that they have to be reasonable also when it comes to technology. And I think that maybe we need to have more experts who really understand the technological aspect, and also the danger, where there is a danger or whether there is no danger, which is bringing, and so on. And I think that, as I was mentioning before, it's super important to have sandbox environments where you basically can deploy technology.
So you're facing a lot of difficulties when it comes to getting permission and so on.
Yes.
How do you deal with that? I mean, like if you want to try a function, then you cannot turn it on, then it's pointless, no?
Yeah, it is actually. Sometimes it is.
You look sad now.
I'm not sure whether I should mention how we're dealing with it. But we're a startup, we need to experiment and so on. So, but of course, we're trying to reach out. We're trying to kind of say the importance of it. We also trying to be quite open about what exactly we are doing and why we need to do that and so on. However, I think that for a small company like ours, it's always a big issue, and that's also something which I hope will be addressed on a bit higher level.
Yeah. Very interesting talk, and as you mentioned, we need hours and hours to talk about this. So, but now we are in the final section of this episode. It's gonna be more about personal reflections in relation to city, yourself, robots, and so on. So I have these questions now. What makes you happy in your city?
Well, I actually think that that you basically have different areas. For example, I live in Helsingborg now, and I like the fact that it's a city which developing. You can see new areas, but also they're kind of having touch with the past, so they're not that they kind of not forgetting about a general
image of a city,
an
identity.
Exactly. And also I think that I'm quite happy that in general in Scandinavia we are quite strong on sustainability and all the sustainability thinking around the cities and areas and so on. I for example personally really like huge vibrant cities, and I'm always getting inspired and kind of more or less can work non-stop there and so on. But at the same time I'm sometimes missing some green parks for a walk or clean air,
exactly.
Clean fresh water, things like that. So I'm actually quite happy that in Scandinavia quite a few cities we managed to combine
urban and nature.
Exactly.
Interesting. What makes you sad in your city?
Well, I don't know. That's a difficult question. Maybe not exactly sad, but I think that seeing more people, something which can kind of
you don't see
that's what I mean. Yeah, that
the
sometimes
the mass of people.
I sometimes like miss more people and more things happening, and
Okay.
you know, I don't think that there is something which makes me sad, maybe except bad weather, but it's not the city's fault.
It's not urban planning department.
No, I actually think that, sometimes, maybe not in Scandinavia, but sometimes when I see, when I'm traveling and see the places where you have really cool modern building and then building which is more or less collapsing, that I think something which actually makes me sad because it feels like it's unproportional. So you have to take care of the city first, and then.
If we talk, Elena, if we talk population, let's like in 100 years, okay? Do you see that we're gonna live with the robots and robots will like rent flats and you know, like they will be part of the population because they work in the city. We don't.
Why does it need flats?
I mean, like instead of store them in storage somewhere, they will, you know, they will talk to us. They will be like human. They will be very developed, just like us. So maybe they will be our neighbors. And,
I think.
Do you see this image or no?
Well, I think that we have to remember that we tend to humanize them. They don't have feelings.
But I mean, in 100 years, what do you think?
Whether robots will have feelings in 100 years, that question.
You're closer to the robots than me, actually.
I actually think that we would be the ones more
without feelings.
who would want to have them feelings, because I can see a lot of people when they're interacting with our robots, they're like, "Oh, he's so cute," and like.
Did you see the Opti robot, the orange one in Dubai? Yeah. This one, like, everyone loves.
Yeah, but to be honest, it's not that advanced. He's quite cute and so on, so everyone loves him, and I would say that I'm actually thinking, you know, like our generation or a generation which is older, I think that we are still not that close to technology. For example, when I'm looking at kids, like even taking my kids as an example, we have a couple of robots at home, and they always tend to think, where he's going to sleep, and we need to play with him so he wouldn't feel bored and so on. And for me, it's always interesting to observe because it's interesting to see how different generations interacting with technology. Basically, and maybe like if we're talking about hundreds of years of time, maybe we as human beings would want them to be to have more personal kind of features and be social and
like we say this city has 1 million the population is 1 million and like 500 robots, like
you know, for me, it's like I'm still looking at it as a technology.
Okay.
So I think that I'm not a software expert, but what I heard and what I read, and after I was talking to people, I think that cognitive side of, like, even that there's a lot of research going, like numerous of researchers working on it, and a lot of talks and so on. But I think that I'm still looking at it as a technology. So for me, it's difficult to imagine that I would look, even if we kind of take Sophia robot or any other robot which humanized, I still know that it's basically a lot of coding or
Interesting. So what should the urban planners stop doing?
Well, actually, maybe
urban planning.
No, well, maybe as we've been talking, maybe when they plan, look at today. So stop looking at what we have today and start thinking about how everything is going to change in the future. And remember that actually the change is going to happen much faster than it was happening before. So it always accelerates.
And if you're allowed to add one thing to our cities, what will you add from urban planning and design perspective? So you introduce one thing to all of the cities.
to all the cities in the world.
Everywhere. Yeah.
I always think that it's cool maybe to have some kind of like super futuristic places where you kind of can get a little bit of feeling how it can be, you know, in the future. And that futuristic part will always change, of course.
Yeah.
But have some spaces where you basically like bring the bunch of, like it's now happening on various expos.
You see the future.
Yeah, you kind of like have a place where like you enter and you see the future. I think it will also help a lot of people to understand. And also, you know, through the years, you can experience what was the future, what is now, and
that's so
what
cool.
will be the future.
Like a future pavilion or something like this.
Yeah, like, you know, travel machine or whatever. No, but I mean,
I got your point. Yeah, interesting. So if you will not be a human and you choose to be something else, what will you choose? You can choose anything.
Are you expecting me to say robot? No.
You're tricky, huh?
Yeah, well, if I should be something living in this planet, then I think that maybe bird or something, so I can fly and travel. If it should be something which is like totally not in connection with the planet, then I think that I would like to be some kind of intelligent creature which could travel, I mean, living maybe on another planet, but intelligent enough that we have some technology that you can travel between the galaxies and see different places. And
I see you just want to travel.
Well, haven't been thinking about it from that side, but
I think this is what you want to say in the end.
Well, that's important that you have possibility to kind of not being stuck somewhere.
Super interesting. Do you have time like for hobbies? Traveling?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to, I would actually say, like, for example, work is partly work, partly my hobby. Because we experimenting a lot and I'm always having fun. And I would say that not like I have anything special as a hobby. No, I think that I'm not sure whether I actually even ever had it, because I can say travels is my hobby. But no, I never think I've been the person who could kind of sit hours and I don't know, paint or do photography.
What do you do if you're not working?
Oh, well, of course, I'm spending a lot of time with my family. This is really important. Family and friends, like experiencing new things, seeing new places. That's what I really like to do. So, yeah, starting looking into different business possibilities, and I think that I'm advising and supporting a couple of companies, and I think that I could say that is kind of part of my hobby too.
Nice.
Yeah, business side of it. But
super cool.
Yeah,
super cool. So last two questions for this episode. I'm really enjoying talking to you. It's a very interesting topic, and I would love to hear from you 3 takeaway messages to the listeners.
Yeah, well, since we were talking a lot about Robotminds and future and change behaviors and so on, I think that I would say that it's kind of important to think about technology, not about like it's something scary, but actually give it a chance and try to learn and open up possibilities and so on. So yeah, and I think start trying out different things and don't be afraid of innovate and step outside of box and do mistakes and do it all again.
Cool.
You said 3 messages.
Yeah, I think one more, right?
Okay. Yeah, and kind of, I think that also now we kind of living in those challenging times. But I think that we actually have to start adapting to them and seeing what possibilities those times opening up for us, rather than thinking about some negative sides.
Yeah.
So I kind of like think that we have to understand that the things as they are. So maybe we limited in one ways, but then there are a bunch of new opportunities opening from another side. So
Interesting.
thank you.
Thank you. And the last question is yours. You ask us a question. Ask me and listeners a question, and we will finish the episode by your question.
Well, then tell me, please, what is your dream city of the future? How would you describe it?
Nice.
It's difficult.
It's very difficult. Well, Elena, thank you so much for coming. And I'm really looking forward to see you in Helsingborg, to see the robots and see what you developed and produced and achieved.
Thank you so much. I'm also looking forward to showcase it and looking forward to see everyone. So I'm hoping that we would be able to show the different side of technology and showcase how we can we use it for our best. So thank you so much for having me here again for the second episode.
Let's see the third episode. I think we're not going to be friends anymore.
I think it's interesting things coming up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. You learned something new and also got inspired by the guest. Don't forget to share the episode on your social media and recommend it to people you think they are really interested in this topic. Thank you so much again for giving your valuable time to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.